Welcome back, John. You know, Burmese military coup, it's been over 5 years, starting from February 1, 2021. On that day, we are the only podcasting about military coup on Burma. Nobody else, no one podcasts about military coup. Even many people don't know the military coup on that day. You remember that day? And probably that was on your Facebook, I think. We did podcast and later I upload on YouTube. So we
Mm.
are the first and the only podcast on the very first day of military coup. So it's been over 5 years. It was very potential, highly potential for Burmese revolution at the beginning because of mainly CDM, civil disobedience movement. They systematically they stopped the government machine, the engine of military government, because many places, many states, many districts, they stop running government engine. That is the crucial thing. CDM, they know very well how to run the government engine. They know they are from inside, inside the government. So that is the key, the reason revolution started, and it could happen revolution. That was very opportunity and the best opportunity in Burmese history, in this modern history, that revolution could be changed effectively. But this opportunity was totally destroyed or misled or and misused by so-called NUG. NUG was successfully remove all this CDM to domain NUG by those elite NUG, current elite NUG. So that very good opportunity at the beginning of military coup revolution is very potential opportunity revolution, but NUG failed. NUG failed. They failed to do successful revolution, and repeatedly they have failed. 2021 was Biden government in US. They are coordinated, or probably they approach or they work with Biden government, NUG and Biden government, NUG and Biden government work together probably, or they at least they meet and they talk and they are together in 2021. I should say NUG has very bad supervisor in term of a professor, very bad professor, a supervisor, because NUG they have a left wing group supervisor, whether in US or in the region or globalist left-wing group. Their supervisor is globalist left-wing group. Wrong policy. Nowadays, in US side, Trump inherited Burmese crisis from Biden, and Trump and Republican Party, Trump administration seem very difficult to cope it. It's very hard to put it into correct policy. If you see Trump administration, maybe Trump unable to yet to work with the right people with Burmese expertise. I don't see Trump could able to find out a good expertise surrounding him. It seems those previous just continuation of previous Biden government. It seems, in US side, US politics, a lot of left-wing groups, Democrats are effectively infiltrated current government, even in Republican Party elite related to Burmese issue, You've been saying many times, Meg McConnell is the key. He made very bad policy on Burma since 1988, 1990s. It's been a long time. Very old senator, very old person. Till today, he is effectively doing Burmese policy, probably. And he is the only one, but he seems working for a left-wing agenda, probably for related on Burmese issue, Surrounding Meg McConnell, most of our 88 generation, so-called 88 student generation, or NLD politician, surrounding him, even till today, probably, because NUG is continuations of those old thugs, 88 generation, NLD, NUG is continuation of old thugs with a new. They are not yet member of parliament officially, technically, because they did not yet a kind of ceremony, a kind of vow, a kind of certifying as a member of parliament from 2020. They are just a candidate or elected, but they want to say they are MP and they are forming a government. But it's totally flawed whether those a few group of member or even a lot or half together, whether they will be legally able to form a government, because they are not vowed at all, or not certified yet at all. So it is itself is flawed. But international MP or ASEAN MP group, they are accepting that. That's, I don't know how they can accept them, but in terms of technically, they are not yet MP. I can say that. Continuation of old type, they put the logo of 88 generation, NLD logo, 88 logo, and they are totally misled and they are wrongly impressed on American population. Even Trump administration was misled by those groups. And mostly those are opportunists, or they are very bad leader, very poor leader, senior leader, without clear direction or without clear purpose. They are responsible for a lot of innocent dying in Burma and this chaos and humanitarian disaster in Burma. I can say that in terms of UN, including Human Rights Council or UN Security Council, anything. UN is, they used to say globalist. Globalist is totally left-wing group, So UN is dictated by left-wing group. That's the reason, UN is failing. Many Western bureaucrats, even they are saying Western country representative, but they are working for left-wing agenda in UN, That's why last year, Trump administration warning, Trump administration rightly withdraw from many UN programs. They withdraw and they cut off funds for UN, including USA. We've been talking last year, and also National Endowment or those many aid program of cut off. Trump is rightly doing. Trump in administration rightly doing. We can realize now, because ordinary people cannot see that. We can see as a international political view, international relation view. In the eyes of international politics, you can say UN is dominated by left-wing group, so-called globalists. I also talk with many UN bureaucrats, senior and head of UN, many of UN coordinator. Everybody agree UN must reform, UN must change, UN should reform, everybody agree, including UN representation, also recruitment of UN bureaucrat, everything. But UN did not done anything. They did not any reform yet. It seems UN did not want to reform, and they are repeat second time. It may be totally club of UN, probably. Then it can be another alternative system will be replaced probably if they reluct. You know, many of UN they are saying Burmese less, Burmese solution. They keep saying, even ASEAN also said Burmese led, Burmese solution. They are keep saying, UN also saying Burmese less, Burmese solution. If they saying Burmese less, Burmese solution, why they did not propose me? I'm a candidate among them, you know. I'm also one of candidate for UN Special Rapporteur. Maybe a couple of 10 people were candidate. Andrew is probably moving to the Cambodia rapporteur. The failed human rights rapporteur in Burma is going to Cambodia rapporteur. I don't know. He will make another failed rapporteur in Cambodia. I don't know. You can say more about that, John. Because many ordinary people don't know. And like us, we know as a expert of international politics point of view, in the eye of international politics, you can able to see the real situation, you know, and probably current government, the right-wing group, conservative, whatsoever, Trump administration is very difficult to clean up all this mess inside US politics. Probably one easy thing is Trump administration must provide impunity those who are involved in the past. That may be, I don't know, it may be helpful for cleaning those mess of left-wing agenda. So if you summary, to protect Trump, we should shield Trump. Even the left-wing and those people, they try to impeach Trump. Indictment, the court indictment, legal test, they are trying. It is mess up for politics, you know. So American people should vote Republican Party, especially in this upcoming midterm election, you know. Republican is the only and mainly hope for the believer, the Christian faithful people, and American origin, you know, Protestant Christian, American origin, you know. Trump is doing global mission. Iran regime is very bad. Even Iran is linked to the Burma. Iran provide jet fuel. They supply it. And Iran is responsible. Iran regime is responsible for many Burmese civilians. Innocent people were killed because of Iran jet fuel. The military junta strike, bomb civilian innocent, destroying many churches, Christian in Burma. So that is the most important. Trump is doing global mission, you know, global mission, starting with Venezuela, Iran, and Burma, probably even North Korea. Let all these people will let them free. Let them freedom in Venezuela, let them freedom in Iran, let them freedom in Burma, even let them the people freedom in North Korea, so on so about Burmese crisis. So I told Canadian experts that they don't know how to deal. So I told them, if Trump invited me, then Burmese crisis will be finished. We can make a deal and solve it. You know, I just told you, but I'm still waiting Trump invitation. Trump has a feeling on Burma. I don't know. So I'm waiting Trump invitation. So how can you say, John, about U.S. government side and Trump administration? Please, John, it's your time.
Well, the person you mentioned to me, Kelly Curry, who
Right.
was recently appointed to be the special envoy for Burma, you could call her.
I mean,
Um,
it is human rights rapporteur on
yes.
Burma.
So she seems to have an excellent record on several subjects, from ranging from Tibet to Burma to the Uyghur situation in Xinjiang or Eastern Turkmenistan. And I've just been browsing her X feed here, and her comments, while there's not many of them, are all very insightful, and she's very critical not only of China but also of the many American nonprofit organizations like the Ford Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation and the Atlantic Council that are overly sympathetic to China's issues. So she seems like she would be a good person. And I
I think
remember
so.
reading that she was appointed by Trump to be in this position. And maybe it's not been confirmed yet. Um,
I think so. I mean, if Trump bless her and Republican support her, it will be
mhm.
good. I mean, I hope she can do much better than Tom Andrew, and she will be very helpful for especially Burmese Christian. But I'm not sure Kelly herself is a believer, maybe non-believer. I'm doubt, and a woman and pro LGBTQX or something. I'm not sure. She will be very good for debate, you know.
Yeah, it's very good for Tibet, and if she's very critical of China's influence in Burma, then she would be good for Burma also. Yes. Um, the new UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in Myanmar. So that was as of March 20th. So apparently she has been uh, made given that appointment. Um,
Did you
as to the Trump administration in general, you seem to have um, a sanguine or an optimistic opinion about uh, what Trump is doing currently, and what his administration represents. Currently, his administration is undergoing a lot of criticism because of his actions in Iran, and the nature of those criticisms, I guess, is what we want to talk about here. Um, yeah, so on 19th of March, uh, a candidate. Okay, so he was presented as a candidate. Okay, so uh, I the criticism is basically that Trump is being a handmaiden to Israel on this subject. That the tail of Israel is wagging the dog of the United States. Um, and you expressed the opinion that the Iranian government is no friend to the people of Myanmar, or I'm going to call it Burma,
right?
of Burma. So, uh, and what Trump's administration has been doing is kind of systematically dismantling the supports of China around the world, starting with Venezuela and then extending to Cuba in a sense, and also um, I forget what other countries he's been involved in, but
Venezuela.
hmm? Venezuela, that's what I meant. Yes, Venezuela, and then Cuba. So, so those are key supporters of China. China's relationship to uh, Iran, couldn't be closer. I remember when I lived there, the People's Daily headline said, Iran is China's best friend, things like that. Recently, the Iran government said that they would allow ships to go through the Straits of Hormuz if they paid a tax to Iran in Chinese yuan. So I thought that was a very interesting development. So this is not going to be an easy pillar to dislodge. So you can think of Iran as a separate country, or you can think of them as a pillar supporting China. Uh, they are in many ways a client state of China. If I had to analyze the Iranian government, I would say it was 10% Islamic theocracy and 90% uh, Chinese authoritarian bureaucracy. The people of Iran don't like the Chinese influence. There have been many reports in the last few weeks of Chinese people being attacked by Iranian people now that the government has been weakened. Um, so, in terms of the interests of the Iranian people, getting Chinese influence out of there would seem to be, consonant with their interests. Um, the government of Iran, of course, has been attacked very viciously by Israel and the United States with what you would say are, acts of war or extra legal actions that uh, one could be very highly critical of. Taking out the heads of state by executing them is not normally the way that warfare is conducted. So these attacks on the head of state of Iran seem uh, in some ways unjustifiable. But they beg the question, why is the government of Iran there to begin with? So the government of Iran was installed in 1979 by what or by who is the question. The Ayatollah had been living in France, so obviously France had a role to play in installing that government. Normally, one looks for the interests of Israel in these matters. So, Israel, I guess we should define the state of Israel, is a state which was created by Eastern European gangsters under the premise of being a homeland for Jewish people. Um, in practice, they've turned out to be, just a government, and not only a government of the not clearly defined territory of Israel, but a government that seeks to control the whole region. What are we going to call the region? You could call the region the remnants of the Ottoman Empire. So when the Ottoman Empire was falling apart prior to World War One, and then formally, in a sense, during World War One, the Great Britain had the preponderance of interest there, and they chose a bunch of tribal leaders and displaced the aristocracy of the various areas, and made up countries in a sense, um, to be ruled by these tribal leaders, which I guess they thought were easier to manipulate, and they wanted to displace the traditional elites in Syria and Iraq and the other regions there. Um, Iran suffered from a coup that displaced their democratically elected leader, and the Shah was put into power thinking he would be more compliant with British oil interests. And then in 1979, Israel was becoming dissatisfied with the way that the Shah was running Iran, meaning that the Shah was expressing criticism of Israel for its aggressive policy of settling people outside the area of Israel, this settler movement. And Israel wanted to get rid of the Shah. So I'm oversimplifying here. Wanted to get rid of the Shah because of this policy. At the same time, the United States president was Jimmy Carter, who was a fool. And he had I don't know what you could say was his guiding interest. It was a kind of humanitarianism that restricted American interests, which had been very broadly defined under the Dulles brothers and the previous Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger and others. So American foreign policy was problematic, but it became more problematic under Carter and his national security advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski. This is a faction of anti-Russian diplomats or bureaucrats who had a kind of Jewish Israeli orientation, a Trotskyist orientation, and an anti Stalinist Soviet orientation. So they were bitterly committed to destroying the Russian state. And they thought that allowing Iran to become under the influence of the Ayatollah rather than the influence of the Shah would help to destroy Russia. So America's vote there was to allow Iran to slide into this Islamic theocracy as a way of punishing Russia. Israel's interest was to destroy the state of Iran, like we subsequently saw them destroy the state of Iraq, destroy the state of Libya, destroy the state of Syria, and in all intents and purposes, destroy the state of Lebanon. So the Ayatollah was set up, I guess, long story short, to fail. He was set up to be a crazy Islamic theocracy that could later be destroyed on that ground. What happened recently is that Israel wants to destroy the state of Iran so it can build a greater Israel. And they simply want to destroy the state of Iran. Now, no president has been able to stand up to Israel. They've been able to delay this destruction of Iran, but they haven't, in a sense, it's a cruel delay because of all the sanctions that are applied in Iran. So the question for Trump now is, can he destroy the government of Israel and destroy the government of Iran at the same time? So the government of Israel is interested in essentially genociding the Iranian people or reducing their civilization to rubble. If Trump agrees with that, which by many indications he is, then that will not be a good thing. Although it will remove some of China's interest in the world. I guess the problem is that Iran or Persia is too strong to fight against even Israel and America, that both Israel and America will be defeated if they try to destroy Iran. If Trump stops at some point and I want to say destroys Israel instead, then there's some hope for the future. The person who Tulsi Gabbard, who's one of the more anti-war people in the Trump administration, did not resign in the face of this administration, but she had her assistant resign. So that's what's been in the news for the last few days. Um, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's been on Tucker Carlson and Sean, several of the different talk shows. He's going to be talking with Mark Levin tonight, or he just did talk with Mark Levin. So this official, whose name I can't recall at the moment, is a very principled person who is resigning, and this is the analysis he gives, that he trusts Trump, in a sense, to be the only person who can break Israel on the subject. But he resigned because he didn't see the U.S. policy going in that direction. So you can get now many different analyses of where the Trump administration is headed. As it has been for the last year, it's always in a kind of crisis mode. So it always seems that Trump's administration is about to collapse, but at the last minute, it turns around and does something successful. So we'll see if that happens at this point. If Trump is successful in isolating Iran from China's interests, while at the same time preserving the polity, then that will be a good thing for many causes, Burma included.
I see.
Mitch McConnell,
Right, Mitch McConnell, right.
is he betraying the Republicans?
Right. Or
Well, he's kind of like, I think when you look at Trump's administration, you have, you don't have a coherent ideology like you have now with the Democrats. The Democrats, I think, under Hillary Clinton, because she was the strongest organizing force, even though Barack Obama held the senior position. Barack Obama didn't seem to have a coherent ideology other than transsexualism. Um, and so Hillary Clinton, in order to get revenge against Trump, made an alliance with Chinese counterintelligence in America. And that alliance has only grown. So now the Democratic Party is beholden to Chinese interests in many ways. You can see that through Neville Singham's nonprofit work, and George Soros is more interested just in sowing chaos, in a sense, and reaping the benefits from currency fluctuations. But their interests tend to align in these matters. As to the Republican Party, you can find some very principled people there, but as a whole, there's nothing that really unites them. There are different interest blocks. So you can see that the Attorney General Pam Bondi, who would have a tremendously powerful position, has done absolutely nothing from the Justice Department. So Trump's administration is not firing on all cylinders. It might be overly optimistic to hope that it would. And America was in bad shape in many ways. So whether it can be saved or not might be an open question. But he's making very bold attempts to try to stitch it together.
So you say the left-wing Democrat group are much organized and they are much coherent among left-wing group, but the conservative right-wing Republican much diverse. They are not unified. Unified, I mean, no coherence. You can say like that, right? So, and apart from Mitch McConnell, I don't know. Similar, is there a lot of people among senators similar to Mitch McConnell or among Congress? I don't
Well,
know.
I
Marco,
guess you can say in general about American government that the people who are in power have corrupt interests. So they're like, a typical example would be Nancy Pelosi, who was the Speaker of the House and was a congresswoman from um, California, from the San Francisco area, and she uh, increased her personal wealth many, many times over through, dealing in stocks. And so because of the inside information she had as a congressperson. So that is just the pattern of corruption. So the congressperson or the senator or the bureaucrat gets rich from having an interest in a defense company or something like that. So they're personally getting wealthy. At the same time, they're arguing for the good of the country or the good of the nation. Now, when those interests correspond, then you could say that the government works well. So I, as a congressman, get wealthy from the kickbacks from the defense contractor, and the defense contractor builds good airplanes, and the good airplanes protect America. So when you have a confluence of interests, then the personal corruption works in tandem with the government's interests. When that is out of line, that's where you see problems. So Mitch McConnell's interests in China through his wife's business interests led to bad policy in Burma, and there was no countervailing force. So I don't know what to say.
I see. I
That
see.
in a sense is the problem, and how many people have an interest in seeing uh, a good policy for Burma and also have a good not a good but a way to profit off of Burma.
That's
So
great.
for example, when the Levi's jeans company moved out of Burma some years ago, that was hailed by the leftists as a victory because they were kicking out, a capitalist company. But in fact, that reduced the opportunity for this kind of synergy of corruption and foreign affairs interests that might have allowed for a better policy in Burma. If you have many American corporations making a profit in Burma, then they would have an interest in keeping Chinese influence out.
I see. So it seems within Republican, it's still not easy to clean up, right? It will not any time you can clean up those betrayal or those sitting in Republican, but they are working for left-wing agenda. It might be easy to clean up many of them. Maybe it may be a little bit improved in this year. I don't know.
Yeah, well, right now America is facing an existential crisis in terms of Chinese influence. So either America will survive or America will die. So the really the only item on the agenda is that if America survives, if it manages to defeat Chinese influence significantly enough that it can function as an empire, then uh, then we can see how well it will behave. If it's defeated by China, then all the questions are moot. It doesn't matter who's corrupt or whose interests are there because America will be out of the picture. Um, America currently has a very strong alliance with Japan, and there are reasons to suspect that it might be successful, but there's also reasons to suspect that it might fail. And a lot of those reasons hang upon whether or not Donald Trump is a good administrator, is a good president.
See,
And
I mean, you said in order to avoid American failing or dying America, as earlier I told that American voters should vote for Republican in midterm, especially, and protect Trump, shield Trump from any
yes, clearly.
impeachment, any indictment. Only Trump, only Trump's remaining in power is American hope, and only Trump can willing to do. Trump is willing to do global mission compared to any previous mission, such as in Venezuela, Iran, also upcoming in Burma or so on. We have to hope. Trump is the only one bravely able to do global mission. So people has to protect Trump and Trump administration. That can be survive America, isn't it?
That's very clear. There's no answer from the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party under Mrs. Clinton made a compromise with China in order to get Trump. And that was like letting a cancer into the body. The influence of the Chinese government has only grown stronger there. And you saw that with the immigration policy and with so many of the actions of the Biden administration that they look like they're trying to destroy America, which is indeed what they're trying to do. So the Democratic Party has no coherent ideology other than self-destruction. So what little hope remains is obviously in the Republican Party. You could
Right.
question, what kind of Republican Party, uh, but you're sort of quibbling there.
Right. So I agree that I mean Democrat is mix of Muslim, Roman Catholics, and non-believer. All this they don't have clear ideology and they don't have clear America representing origin of America. Only Republican is clear representing origin of America, Protestant Christian, and a lot of faithful Christian, much more than Democrat. Democrat is almost none, you know, in terms of ideology. So it's only hope ideology in America is Republican Party. We can say it like that. So in order to fulfill a successful global mission, Trump bravely initiated global mission. That global mission is also important foreign policy and foreign
Hmm.
policy making, including a Secretary of State.
I don't. Um, Rubio's advantage, of course, is that he's a native Spanish speaker, and one of the important pillars of America is its relationship with Latin America. And you couldn't find a better representative there, in terms of uh, being able to communicate with other countries in that region. So he's very good on that, and he was banned by China. So China prohibited him from traveling there because he was so firmly against the government. So that means he was pretty good on the subject of Asia as well. So I on the subject of Burma, I don't know. He probably would have had to defer to McConnell's proclivities because of the way that the Senate works. But um, one imagines he's pretty good in the position of Secretary of State
I
there.
see. Uh, in spite of Marco Rubio may be good, but he may make mistake because of his lower bureaucrats. They may report him wrong policy or wrong misleading policy, probably those bureaucrats in State Department. So that might affect not good policy in State Department.
Well, if you wanted to characterize the ideology of the Democratic Party, um, fat and stupid would be the way to do it. The Americans are incredibly overprivileged, and they've had mostly because of Bretton Woods, because of the exchange rate situation, they've had a very profitable existence for the last six decades or so, and and they've grown fat and stupid. So they don't see China as a existential threat the way China sees itself as an existential threat to the United States. They don't know that they are in mortal danger. They're kind of half asleep, as it were. They think they have too much privilege. They think that they can get away with anything. They think that they can afford uh, all of these things, and they can't. So yeah, the stupidity of the bureaucrats in Washington, which is really what you're asking about, is I think born of this overprivilege, and that overprivilege then leads to moralizing and a kind of, you could say, a human rights attitude, meaning a reliance on universalisms and yeah, universalisms is the best way to describe it, a kind of theoretical perspective that is very pristine and not subject to existential challenges. Um, and what you're speaking of there in terms of like the mission of the United States in terms of its Protestant Christian value system or its sense of national character, I guess that has to arise out of a conflict. So another nation with a sense of national character, like China, which is a Han-centric nation that believes that all people who are not of Han ethnicity should be genocided. And that's the way their government operates. That's the way their civilization operates. And that is an existential challenge then to anyone who is not of Chinese ancestry. So they would seek to destroy America on that basis. And then how would America respond? Then that would then awaken their sense of purpose.
I see. I see. So, in State Department, probably Marco Rubio has to clean up a lot of bureaucrats who are uh, not effective and not maybe corrupt bureaucrat, especially on Burmese issue. And Michael Ruby, I don't know he can able to clean up or he can willing to clean up. I don't know unless it will not. We cannot expect that a good policy on Burma's crisis unless he cleans up a lot of bureaucrat in State Department. I guess the Kelly, she used to be ambassador for women,
Mhm.
and I don't know. Kelly is implicated. I'm not sure. Woman is coming back again, so uh, probably many people may boring again and again. Showcases people are fed up probably, but I'm not sure. This one Kelly may be better, or she might. I don't know. She can convince American military, American involvement in Burma. I don't know if Kelly can convince UN Security Council or many important people to involve in Burmese crisis. But she is more about women. She deals more about women issue, women affair, LGBTQ acts, those things. So I'm not sure. Uh, but you seem you confirm Trump appointed Kelly.
That's what it looks like. Yeah, that he was recommended by the Trump administration. Yeah, and so her appointment has been recommended by the president of the Human Rights Council. Um, yeah, the I don't know how influential or important that is, but I guess it's better than nothing.
Or
Um,
about she has capacity to convince American greater involvement in Burma, or she can convince UN Security Council to much involved in Burma. She can
yeah,
give.
China has a lot of influence on the um, um, Human Rights Council, and the current Secretary General is also very, in a sense, beholden to Chinese interests. So the Trump administration has more or less written off the United Nations, and they've created this Council on Peace.
Board of Peace.
Board of Peace. So that's kind of a second United Nation or a functional United Nations. So that, in a sense, might be more important than the formal UN. It's impossible to say at this moment. One would expect that the pressure on Burma would get greater if Iran falls out of China's orbit, because then China has to rely on fewer and fewer supports. Likewise, yeah, it's hard to predict what could happen, but that might not be a good thing in the short term. But things seem to be happening very quickly. So, what Laos and Cambodia would also have to fall apart in terms of their Chinese interest. That's happening already to a certain degree in terms of the war with Thailand and between Cambodia and Thailand. And, someone's interests would have to increase in the region. And that someone would probably be India. And then what kind of direct relations? I think Burma has been very careful to cultivate relations with Korea and Japan, as well as, kind of trying to maintain an arm's length from China. So then what Korea and Japan would do would probably be much more important than what America is going to do. And then what is India going to do? That's also a potential problem in a sense. You don't want to replace Chinese oppression with Indian oppression. So there's a lot of things up in the air.
You see. So you prefer Kelly over Tom Andrew, right? You don't like Tom Andrew at all. Now he is moving to Cambodia.
I didn't like Tom Andrew at all when I heard him speak. Well, that is a kind of a kind of paradox. The first Was it the first president of the United Nations was from Burma? Ne Win?
No, no, no. You mean Secretary General?
Secretary General, yeah.
Bhutan, maybe he is not the first Secretary General, maybe second or third probably.
Okay.
So very beginning of UN, Burmese
Yeah.
Burmese had a Secretary General.
Yeah, so he was a great statesman. In some way, he was more needed in Burma than he was needed at the United Nations.
Right,
I
but
kind of wonder if they
that Secretary General Utan Unu, they are all left wing leaning. That is problem.
Hmm.
But I am not left wing, so it will be different result, So somehow
Mhm.
Burmese, probably Christian, will be much better rapporteur
Mhm.
for UN.
In Japan by leveling a lot of local, regional, and other kind of differences and creating a new national identity. So people in Burma have the advantage of having strong local uh, ethnic identities or tribal identities. I don't know how you want to characterize them. To a certain extent, religious identities when they're not Buddhist, that there are minority, as you mentioned, Christian identities. But in Burma, it seems like you have a very strong national Buddhist identity.
It's complicated. I mean, it's Japan and the background is very different. In Burma, Christian community have very separately, they are living their own history and they never mix together, not like Japan or Korea. So it is complicated. So if Myanmar is not there, it might be a new policy or changes policy in US. How do you see Myanmar and surrounding Burmese, those old cuts?
So what you're saying is that this national unity government of Myanmar is not a good um, government, is or not a good potential government. I guess it's
They
the
fail. They fail.
normally we call it the government in exile.
Right. They fail. I'm telling those mid McConnell or those left wing are supervisor in terms of academy. They are supervisor, but NUG is failing many times in the past 5 years, failing. Even they don't have auditor for 5 years. How all the US, example, millions of money probably system, uh, American people cannot get report about Burmese spending money, American Protestant Christian taxpayer money are spending without auditor. Even Trump did not know, probably. Trump did not know
Hmm.
how the money, Christian taxpayer money are spending. I'm a Protestant Christian. I don't receive any money, related to Burmese funding.
Hmm. So then, in terms of the government of Burma, you're looking at the Kathmandu as the reform of that government as being the viable government.
I mean, election it is neither de jure or neither de facto because the election is very limited in terms
Hmm.
of constitution, constituent, because they are not representing the whole constitution. Even half is not representing, and de facto they did not control the whole this thing. So Mitch McConnell, those cards are very connected and it will be not easy to change policy and to cleanse those groups, right?
Well, if China is taken out of the equation, I don't know how that would happen. I really don't know. But I guess what you would look at the as a partial endpoint for Trump's administration, if they continue to chip away at China's influence around the world, then China's influence in Burma would decrease. And then as I mentioned, you would want to see, someone else's influence.
I'm telling earlier that NUG or those CRPB, a group of MP, I've been telling technically they are not yet MP. They did not yet any vow or any ceremony or any certify of MP at the parliament. They did not
Mm,
get done. So before that, they were coup and they ran away. So technically, they are not yet MP. So uh, I that is very doubtful whether how they can be led. They can be eligible for forming a government with a partial participation of the list of population of MP. That is very doubtful, but they say they are legitimate. So I don't see they are not de jure. They cannot claim a de jure government.
mm,
Government, and that is NUT side. So that without bowing, without certifying MP, you can imagine how they can be easily corrupt, and they don't have any. I mean, the NUG doesn't have auditor, financial auditor for the last 5 years. How American Christian taxpayer money are spending, no auditor, and even Trump maybe doesn't know no auditor. So that is NUG side issue. So they fail, and they are corrupted. We can say they are corrupted. They fail revolution. They betray Burmese people, and also they betray CDM. They are the key. CDM, civil disobedience movement. They are the engine of the government. They remove CDM from running NUG. So how NUG can be effective? Engine, CDM are engine of the government. They remove it and they just running NUG government without engine. You can imagine. So there is no auditor and a lot of corruption and killing, murdering innocent. So that is a continuation of previous 88 generation NLD. Still US policymaker could not do very good policy and they could not find a good expertise and they could not work with a good expertise. Even Trump has not able to cope with. It's still hard to put correct policy or unable to work with yet with Burmese, especially Burmese expertise.
The British upset that relationship with a military government. And that's the same military government that Burma has to this day. So the problems of Burma are very much problems that stem from the way that Lord Mountbatten, acceded to the demands of what's her name's father.
Since British era, the Christian region, Kachin State, Karen, they are totally separately. They are unique. Their own way of living and their own territory and their own Christian faith. No Buddhist in Christian state at all. And there is clear line between Buddhists who are they are proper Burma, British call them. Proper Burma is the middle of Burma on the plain. Most Chin Christian are hill area. There is clear line. There is no crossing or no mixing, either politically, religiously, culturally. So different thing. British knowing that. That's why British has made very big condition when they are going to independent. So there was a Bandlong agreement between those ethnic people and the proper Burma, the Buddhist, mainly Buddhist proper Burma. So British made condition. So the agreement mentioned clearly it should be their own indigenous, their own territory, autonomous. All this federal system are agreed, and also even after 10 years, there is allowed to separate from the union. So British make clearly condition based on the condition that Chin Christian, they are joined with the Union of Burma. So who violate the agreement? Like the Aung San Italy agreement, all these are reflected, and UNU Italy agreement, all these are reflected. That is a international document, legal document, legitimate document. Those agreements, who violated? Violated by those military. They destroy constitution and they disrespect agreement. That is not the Christian or ethnic violated the agreement. The agreement violated destroyed by the military and the proper Burma Buddhist group. So that is mean the British made condition was violated by those proper Burma. So now is up to the ethnic Christian. They may be disjoin. They may stop joining with the union and they will be returned back to origin. Legally, that is legitimate. So that is big condition. So if the Burmese want let them union join with the proper Burma Buddhist, those Christian, ethnic Chin or Kachin, they have to respect the agreement. That will be able to remain in the union. If they don't respect or they follow agreement, it means there's no reason to remain in the union and join. So that is legally, you know, that is legally legitimate. So you can see who is strong and who did mistake and who violate, who destroy it.
Mm.
So that is nothing to be confused about religious or ethnicity. It's mainly about violation of agreement. Similar in U.S. declaration, you are joined together with different colonies, 14 or how many colonies. That based on
Yeah, I don't.
agreement, U.S.
I
become
don't.
a federal government.
Mm, I don't think you have in the way that the British let go of Burma and they really handed it over to Aung San because Aung San was a violent criminal. He was a thug. He was a murderous gangster, and he pressured the Lord Mountbatten, who was afraid that he would be overwhelmed by Indians as well as Burmese. That he had only a small amount of Indian troops to protect him there in Burma. So he really gave up the government to this criminal, and then this criminal set up, who was quickly murdered by his fellow criminals, was in a sense a dynasty, and the idea that Burma is run by a dynasty, I guess, is baked into the civilization because his daughter is looked to as the next leader of Burma in a dynastic succession pattern. Um, but so the problem of governance there, and of course China regards Burma like Tibet as a colony of of China. So what China does to Tibet is to remove the leadership contingent, meaning the Dalai Lama, and then replace it with its own, administration, but also with ethnic Han citizens to get rid of the ethnic Tibetans, to force them to marry Han and to basically extinguish the Tibetans as a separate ethnic group, which I guess would be the same fate for Burma, except that it would not be only the Burmese; it would also be the Karens and the other ethnic groups there that would be eliminated by the Han if they went the way of the Chinese. And then how can they preserve some kind of a nation in the face of the threat from China, and also in a sense in the face of the threat from modernity? So you have the different ethnic groups, as you mentioned, wanting to have their own sense of sovereignty, um, and maybe having that at the expense of other ethnic groups in Burma. That they would say we want a Karen nationalism or a Shan state. We don't want a Burma state. So this then devolves. I guess the term for it is balkanization. And you had the same problem in Japan prior to 1868, prior to the formation of a national country. The country could have broken up uh, Choshu and Satsuma into different regional sort of mini countries.
I mean that it's nothing wrong with the Christianity and Chin ethnicity, Kachin ethnicity. It's a purely violation of the agreement of disrespect of agreement in terms of union or one federal system that should be restored, or otherwise it means the violator mistake themselves, the proper Burma or British Burma. So that is also influence that this history background is influence among those 88 generation NLD politician and NUG tax, NUG government tax. So you agree that NUG also very corrupted and very similar to those. I mean, they did a lot of wrong and misleading American population, American Christian population. Even Trump administration was misled by those stuff. You agree that?
Well, I think both are misleading in a sense because the influence of America there or the nonprofit groups, want to use the national unity government to advance their interests, to advance some kind of color revolution there. And it's not really clear what those interests are. And if it ever was clear, the clarity has been removed so that the national unity government, before it fell to the Tatmadaw, was being accused of being a puppet for China. And it was looking that way, so that Aung San Suu Kyi had really sold out to the Chinese. That was the claim there. And then if you look at it objectively or rationally, how could they possibly stand up to China's interests? China's interests are very powerful there. Really, the Tatmadaw is in a better position to negotiate with the Chinese from a position of strength. But if everybody keeps boycotting Burma, then the government moves closer and closer to the orbit of China. So this is, in some senses, the problem that Iran is in. To bring us back to Iran, my original estimate was that 90% of the government of Iran is Chinese, and 10% of it is Islamic theocracy. And that Islamic theocracy was put in at the behest of the Israelis and the Americans. So it's not even a legitimate Islamic theocracy. Now, that percentage might be quite wrong. That was just my sort of perhaps hyperbolic way of illustrating the situation. But certainly, if you talk to people in Iran, they will all complain about the interests of the Chinese, that China is really running Iran at the moment. Now, maybe 10 years from now or 20 years from now, the Iranians can wrest the hands of the power from the Chinese. But, I don't know. They could also cooperate with the Americans. I don't think they can cooperate with the Israelis because the Israelis only want to see them destroyed. So it's a very difficult problem there. And I guess my point is that it's a very difficult problem in Burma also. The different tribal interests would have to unite to have an anti-Chinese interest, and then they would have to have some kind of pro-Western agreement.
You said the immigrant, Chinese descendant immigrant, Indian immigrant descendant in Burmese politics. So those immigrants, maybe they may be 2-3 generation, and I mean they have no really feeling about nationalism, how to be a good country, like building a great America. They don't have really feeling. So they destroy politics, they destroy the country, they destroy the military, and they destroy Burmese democracy. And then most of them are probably Muslim or Hindu or Confucian or communist background. So you agree those immigrant descendant, Chinese descendant, Indian descendant are problem in Burmese politics.
Yes, and well, they're a problem in a sense in Korea as well. So that's, as long as you're on the periphery of China, that's always going to be a problem.
Japan is pretty good, I guess. A lot of not Chinese descendant or Chinese influence in Japan.
Well, Japan has a long history of separating itself from China. So, and currently that's finding in, overwhelming expressions in the population. The current prime minister is popular because she articulates clearly the sense of Japaneseness and a sense not Chineseness, but that in a sense everybody feels that. They feel it very clearly.
Right. So Chinese descendant influence in Japan was not significant, and Japan has very successfully and very strongly able to prevent Chinese descendant.
Well,
I mean,
China, China has a China has a number of people over here. That's the largest immigrant group is Chinese, and so I don't know how many. It's over 1 million Chinese here, and they present a kind of second frontier or fifth column. Um, Certainly, they see themselves that way. How influential they are in the past, they've been somewhat influential. Under Ishida, the previous prime minister, I want to say they were quite influential. So, Japan has this problem also.
but not much compared to Korea or South Asia. Japan is much
Not at the
less.
moment. Not at the moment. But they had it quite bad during the Fukushima incident. The government then was very, in a sense, pro-China. So yeah, it could be anything in the future, I guess, is what I want to say.
But in case of Burma, a lot of Indian descendant, Indian Burmese
Mm,
influence in greater influence in Burmese politics and Burmese military. They
mm,
don't really build nationalism or nation building. They mess up, and probably
mm,
they destroy Burma. Even Suchi mother was Indian descendant. That's why many people accuse NLD and Suchi that made the country collapse. And
mm,
our son, her father is himself is a pure Burmese, but
mm,
Suchi become mixed blood. And
mm,
also Rohingya issue also related to immigrant and Indian, those things. All this international funding for Burma is go to Rohingya. And that Rohingya is based in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh government receive all the money as like monkey show. Like Rohingya
yeah.
is like monkey, and people donated money for the monkey, and the master of monkey is Bangladesh. Bangladesh collected all the money. Uh, Technically, all these international humanitarian aid or system are not received or crossed into Burma boundary, Burma border. Burmese people did not receive. It's all go to um, Bangladesh Rohingya monkey. The international assistance funding is like that. So that is very bad and very I mean that also involved by UN again. That UN is dictated by left wing globalists. Like they even corrupted. I mean, a lot of bureaucrats corrupted. So all these Bangladesh humanitarian are organized by UN and Bangladesh government. So they are
Mm.
left wing globalists.
Certainly, corrupt is part of the picture. So when they argue for women's rights or some other special interest, what they're doing is they're promoting a kind of corruption. I guess Trump illustrated this best maybe with the Green New Scam. So certainly the health of the environment is an important issue, but the question for these people is how can they profit off of it? So the first thing that you have to do to improve the environment is to, recycle and reuse. But instead, they're promoting these different energy schemes that they profit from personally. So when you hear these calls about human rights or, XYZ rights, they're really they're forms of corruption, and really they're universalisms. And so these universalisms are just a cover for some very particularistic corruption.
Right. So
And how did
last year Trump administration a kind of warning, they cut off funding to UN, they
mm,
withdraw from UN program, many entities from UN. It seems UN did not improving or they don't want to change. The bureaucrats are still corrupting.
yeah, I don't even want to dignify them with an ideology. I don't know. uh, yeah, that's what they're called. They're called left-wing globalists, but again, I don't know how helpful that is as a term. The yeah, the idea that there's a coherent left wing, I don't see it. For example, in America, one of the major issues for the left wing is immigration. And 40 years ago, that wasn't an issue at all. So the people on the left wing never thought that there should be more illegal immigrants in the country as a political issue. So that, the people who benefit from that issue, like it might be the Chinese government because it helps to destroy the American polity, but there is no coherent ideology there. There's no reason to support that. So what is left wing anymore? I think you couldn't identify it. It's the in American politics it seems to be Trump or not Trump. That seems to be the extent of the ideology, and that in itself isn't even an ideology. So
I see. So if a bureaucrat in UN did not want to improve or change UN, maybe the fate of UN maybe you see in the future it will be totally collapse, or Trump might replace UN with the board of peace or something like that. So UN will be totally collapsed, and the alternative goes.
I guess the hope is that the Board of Peace begins to function for solving crises, and managing international affairs, and they're so successful at doing that that the United Nations wants to run and catch up. So if you wanted to do something like eradicate, you know, malaria in Burma or Malaysia, you could give money to the Board of Peace, and then the Board of Peace would come in and spray pesticide on mosquitoes or however it's going to be done. And then the functions of the UN, such as they were, would be taken over in a good way, when they had, clear ideals and a clear methodology for achieving those ideals, um, by this. And then the corruption of the UN would mean that people would stop giving it money, or it would mend its behavior, would start to behave itself.
See, so that's the fate of UN, right? So we don't know what will be next action by Trump administration or any powerful country action, because we need their support too. Without US, I mean, nobody can uh, reform UN probably. All are overwhelmingly left globalists are controlling. So let's see the fate of UN in the future. But in case of Burma, I guess uh, I see Trump administration should mainly focus on. I mean, it don't focus widely or messy. Trump should narrow down and focus on particular. Burmese is not bigger than Iran or even not bigger than Venezuela. You can easily handle it if Trump desire or feeling to do that. Isn't that for Obama?
Well, how much do you think the Christians can cooperate with the Buddhists? Is
Yeah,
there a way there that they can
we did.
cooperate with each other?
Burmese Christian did cooperated. Burmese Christian ethnic group cooperated based on the agreement, Pen Long Agreement, Aung San at the agreement, UNU at the agreement. These all are international law. The the uh, British provide them condition. With based on
Hmm.
the condition, it become a union. It has clearly mentioned in the agreement. That is agreement document. That is very much documented agreement. So we cooperated based on that. We can go ahead. They should not destroy it. They should not abolish it.
Hmm.
If the agreement remain, the union will be remain. Cooperation will be remain. So I want the U.S. should do meaningful, narrow down the focus and work very sophisticated work policy, not just blindly making huge policy and without gaining anything, any clear
Mm.
purpose, any clear direction. That's my point. If Trump invited me, I think I can make a deal and make finish Burmese issue.
What do you think of the relationship between Burma and Thailand and Burma and Sri Lanka, meaning the other poly-language Buddhist states, and to a certain extent Vietnam?
No, there is no any document or any political agreement among Theravada Buddhism, Thailand, Burma, Cambodia. Those things they don't have, not like Muslim League, Muslim
Mm.
OIC. They don't have any document. They have nothing to support. Okay, thank you,
I
John.
was